Hello everyone, welcome to my second video on the snickerdoodle. In this video we're going to go ahead and get started. First of all, we're going to take you on a tour of the hardware I just received the other day. Next we're going to create a microSD card image. And then finally we're going to load that microSD card onto the snickerdoodle and boot it for the first time. So let's go ahead and get started. Finally, our snickerdoodle arrived. This was delivered from Crowd Supply. Snickerdoodle was a crowdsource funded project that I backed, I think it was on the first day the project was launched. And it's been a few months, and now we have our first snickerdoodles. There's one snickerdoodle. There's two snickerdoodles. Now I ordered one with the connectors up, one with connectors down. I also ordered the standard version and a black version. Standard version I got with connectors up, and the black version I got with connectors down. These are some connectors that I intend to use with some of my own baseboards. Got a whole bunch of those. Also some jumper wires with connectors. That'll be used for the connectors up version. That's to connect to external devices using wires. Micro USB cord. Breaky breakout board. And that's the base board we'll use with the black that I got with the connectors down. That'll allow us to basically use the connectors down version and still have access to GPIO for prototyping. Preloaded micro SD card, and we'll show you how to make your own here in a little bit, and a heatsink. And that's about it for what's in the box. Okay, here we have the snickerdoodle standard and the snickerdoodle black next to each other. Snickerdoodle standard on the left and snickerdoodle black on the right. You can see they're both the same size. The snickerdoodle black has the connectors down, and the snickerdoodle standard has the connectors up. Here we have the breaky board, if I can get it open. There we go. There, the breaky board. Okay, let's go ahead and install the snickerdoodle black onto the breaky board. The connector down version of the snickerdoodle has a lower insertion force on these connectors. Otherwise, this would be extremely difficult. But as it is, it does take some force to fully seat it. And it is firmly in there and secure when it's all together. Now we're going to create a microSD card for the snickerdoodle. You can also order a microSD card with a preloaded image on it, but in this video we're going to create one ourselves. So you're going to want to navigate over to Critical's website and go to their download section. I'll provide the link below this video. And then you search for the image that you want. We're going to be using the Ubuntu SD card image, and we need to select the one for the version of the snickerdoodle we have. I have both a standard and a black version. I created the card for the black version yesterday, so I'm going to create one for the standard version today. So looking at this, it's the snickerdoodle Ubuntu SD card image. That's the one we want. So we'll go ahead and download that. And while that's downloading, we'll check our microSD card. To do that, this is very important that you identify the correct drive that the microSD card is inserted in, because we're going to be formatting that drive, and if you format a drive, you're going to lose everything on it. So we need to make sure that we identify it correctly. So to do that, I'm actually going to open up Explorer here, and this is in Windows 10. Notice the drives that are present. Insert the microSD card, and you can see that it shows up as drive E. So now we know that the microSD card is inserted into drive E. And so this is downloading. I'm going to pause the video right now. But for once this is done downloading, this is downloading a zip file. You'll want to extract that to a convenient location you're choosing, and just remember that location for the next step. Okay, so that image is going to take a little while to download. While you're waiting, I just wanted to mention that these instructions for creating the microSD card can also be found in the snickerdoodle book. You can get that right here under documentation. Click there, you can get the snickerdoodle book, and those instructions are pretty good for doing this. Okay, but so I've downloaded this to my desktop and extracted it right here. You can put it wherever you like, just remember where it's at. Next step is to actually format the microSD card. And to do that, first of all, make sure that you have the correct drive selected. Make double sure of that. And then under options, we can leave it as format type quick, but we want to change the format size adjustment to on. Okay, and then we select format, and it's going to ask me a couple times here if to continue, and you don't want to remove this once you start it. So we'll go ahead and get started, and that happens pretty quick. So this is a 32 gigabyte micro SD card. That's really the minimum I'd recommend. I'm also have one that's a 64 gigabyte. And we can use up to 200 gigabyte. You also there are different classes of micro SD cards, but I won't get into that right now. You want to use one of the faster class micro SD cards. Okay, that's done, and we can exit the formatter. Next, we then use the Win32 disk imager, which I already have open here. And I'll provide the links to these tools here below the video. But again, make sure you select the correct device, drive E, and then navigate to where you extracted the image. For me, that's on the desktop. So, and there's the image right there. And just select that. And then once you have that selected, just to go ahead and click on write. It'll ask me if I'm sure, because it will copy over everything on that disk. So if you accidentally select your hard drive in this step, you will destroy your hard drive. So make sure that you have the correct drive selected. Okay, and that will take a little while. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video again now, and then once this is complete, we can remove the micro SD card, and then we can put it in a snickerdoodle, and then we can go ahead and we can boot the snickerdoodle. So that's what we'll have next when we come back. First of all, in this case, I already have a micro SD card installed in this snickerdoodle, and this is the preloaded card that I bought with it, but we're going to load the one that I just created. To do that, you need to unlock the cage by sliding it back, and it helps to push down slightly as you do that. It can become a little tough to get out. Then just flip it up like that, and you can get the old card out. Okay, and then place the new card in. There's a couple little tabs there, and and it's with the contacts up like that. Flip it over, and then you're gonna have to push it down as you slide this connector and lock it in place. So there, the microSD card is now installed. Next, we'll connect the USB cord to the port. I have the other end plugged into my computer with Ubuntu on. And as you first plug it in, you'll see a little bit of activity on the green LED next to the USB port, and then you'll see the white LED pulse in sort of a heartbeat type pattern. And the green LED will actually dissipate there after a few seconds, but the white one will remain on as long as you have power to the board. Okay, let's go over to Ubuntu and get this thing going. Okay, here we are in Ubuntu, and I've opened up a shell. Actually, let me close this or minimize it so you can see what I've got here. So Ubuntu is loaded. You'll see this. If you don't see that there, type in terminal up here. If I could spell, there you go. Terminal pops up, and you can do that right there. All right. So if you don't see a terminal, click on that, and you can search for terminal. But I have a terminal open. And in Linux, we're going to use the command prompt a lot, especially on the snickerdoodle, until we have a support for a display. We're going to be using just a command line here for now. So it's a little difficult to go much further without giving you just a few very basics about how to work with Linux at the command prompt. A few commands that you need to know. One of them is ls, and then hit enter. And what that does is it lists the files and folders at the current location. Okay, so if I want to, let me give you one more, a CD. So let's say I want to go to the folder there called videos. I use CD space, and then the path of where I want to go. So it's videos. Okay, and so you can see the command prompt changed, and it shows me I'm in videos, and I can hit ls again, and it shows I have one video saved there. I can then go all the way back to actually the root here like that, and you can see how the prompt changed a little bit. And for all you Linux experts out there, I'm sorry if I butcher this. I'm not a Linux expert. I know enough to be dangerous. But you can see how the prompt changed a little bit there. So now we have a different file structure there. And if we want to go back to where we were, we'd have to go cd home. And you do have to spell everything right. Now if I ls right there, Tom, now I go cd Tom. And now, see how my prompt changed there a little bit? Let's see if I get my arrow here. See how it changed from this slash to, I think that's called the tilde. Then I do this, and I'm back to where I originally started. So that's how you kind of navigate and get around in Ubuntu or any Linux system, really, or at least the ones that I use. Okay, what we want to do then, if you haven't done this in a while, there are a few commands here that you use to keep Linux up to date. Use sudo, and sudo stands for super user do, I think. But basically, there are certain types of commands that are limited in who can run them, and that's kind of a security feature of Linux. But we use sudo in front of a command that's in that classification. A Linux expert could explain it better, but we're going to use something called apt-get, and that is basically a program that's running on a Debian-based Linux. So Debian and Ubuntu both use that. If you're using Raspbian on a Raspberry Pi, you'll use this, and it'll be update. Okay, just hit enter, and then you have to enter in your password. It will not show it on the screen. And then it's going to go ahead and update there. Okay, next I want to go back to where I was before, just to show you something here. Hit ls again. And there's a quicker way to do this, but I'm feeling my way around it as I'm going. But I want to go under dev, and then I want to ls there. Actually, I want to ls, and then I want to do tty star, and this will reduce the list. What this will do is it'll just show me the items that begin in tty. That's what we're looking for. And so now you can see that it limited it to the items that just began in tty. Now I have my snickerdoodle plugged in, and if I were to unplug it, you would see that this tty ACM 0 would go away. I don't think it'll screw up anything if I do that. So I'm going to unplug my snickerdoodle. And now I'm going to type that command again, and a little shortcut for Linux, if you're a beginner, just hit the up arrow key, and that will give you the last command. You actually go through them like this, up arrow, down arrow, and go back through your commands. So that might be useful if you have to repeat commands, save you some typing. All right, so I did that again. You can notice I am missing one of those, and you can see which one went away. It's the tty ACM 0. So now if I plug my snickerdoodle back in, and just wait a couple seconds there, and then I repeat that command. You see it came back. Okay, so what that does is these are devices, and that is the name that Linux has given that USB device that's plugged in. It doesn't know it's a snickerdoodle. It sees it as tty ACM 0. Okay, so that's the thing we need to know for a little bit later. So let's go ahead and let me go back to where I was. Right there. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to open a serial connection to snickerdoodle. There's a couple different programs that come with Linux that you can use. One is Screen, and another is Minicom. I'm going to use Minicom here, so we're going to go sudo Minicom, and then I'm going to go dev / remember that because we want to go to that dev folder, and then we're going to do tty ACM 0 and hit enter. Okay, so now this is Minicom, and there's this actually did something that it won't normally do. If you're starting this for the first time, if you've never used it before, right here where it says port, this might show something else here, and it will not work if you see that. And this is something that someone helped me out with on the forums, the forums on the Critical website, and you hit Control A and then Z, and that brings up this menu. And you can see on this menu right here, there's a configure Minicom, and it gives an O. And so if you enter O, we'll enter in the configure Minicom. That's how this works here. So just type O. And there's a couple different options here, and you go through these with the arrow keys. And what we want to do is serial port setup. Under serial port setup, that's where we can change this. Now you can see it gives a menu, and we don't need to change this right now, but let's say we need to change the serial device, and you will probably need to do this if it's the first time you're connecting the snickerdoodle. So we'll hit A, and that'll allow us to go up here and change this. But we want it to be ACM 0, and then just hit enter. Now, another thing that you might need to change, but maybe not, is you want to set your baud rate here. So you want to make sure that this right here is 115200 and then space 8N1. That's just basically the configuration of the serial port. Okay. So now we're all set. We can let's see, save. Okay, enter. and then we want to save setup. And so notice how there's a name here. We can change that name if we want to do save setup as, but if we remember that name, then we can just reference that when we start Minicom. Okay, but we're going to save setup as that. Configuration saved, and now we can exit. And before this will work, we actually have to restart Minicom. So I'm going to go Control A and then X to leave Minicom. And it'll take a minute there. Actually, I think I have to hit Enter here. Okay, there. I'm back. Now I'm going to go back in. And I think I can't. There. We'll just do that. Okay, so there is a little bit of a bug that I ran into, and you're seeing it here. And I saw somebody posted a fix for this, but I've also found a workaround. Okay, so you can see how it started to count down there, and then you see this T, and then another T, and then it looks like someone tried to enter an AT, and it didn't work, and then he's got these tilde signs. If I hit Enter, I get a command prompt back. But this is not the Linux command prompt that we're expecting to see, that we should see. This means we are in the U-boot partition on the microSD card, and we are not quite in Linux yet. I think I'll have to work through the workaround. Well, first, I'll show you the workaround. So if we just hit boot and enter, now it's booting into Linux. Okay, and this is if you've booted up Linux before, this will look very familiar, and there you go, Linux is booting. And there, we are at our command prompt. And remember those commands, if I hit LS, it shows I've got one folder under the current directory, it's called workspace. And now we are actually on the snickerdoodle. What we're typing right now is being typed on the snickerdoodle, and we're into Linux on the snickerdoodle. Next, let me show you, let me see if we can fix that bug here with something somebody showed me. It's not a problem with the snickerdoodle, it's a problem with Ubuntu. Okay, to fix that issue we're having with the snickerdoodle not booting up into Linux, Matthew here posted onto the forum that it has to do with Ubuntu and not snickerdoodle. So it's not fair to call it a bug. It's not really a bug. It's doing exactly what it's told to do. It's just we need to set something up in Ubuntu. And he's saying if we use sudo apt-get remove modem manager, that'll fix the problem, because basically Ubuntu is recognizing that device name as a modem. And if you're old and you remember these dial-up modems, there was this handshake that happened, and that's what it's trying to do. And so Ubuntu is sending commands to snickerdoodle while it's booting up, and it recognizes those commands and it stops booting Linux. So that's what's happening there. Also, before I forget, I wanted to give credit to Rob Barris, who helped me out with the Minicom. This is the first time I used Minicom, and Rob had a few tips there. You'll see him on the forums, and so I want to give him credit for that. All right, so let's go ahead and use this. And while Linux, you have to do a lot of typing, you can also use copy and paste. So I'm just going to copy this. Okay, now copy. Now I come over here, and the control buttons don't sometimes work sometimes, but there you go. So I got sudo apt-get remove modem manager. Let's try that. I have to give in my password. Ask me if I'm sure. Yes. Okay, and now if you recall, we can just use our up arrow keys to go back to Minicom and hit enter. Oops. Oh, I know why that happened, because I unplugged my snickerdoodle. So you do have to have a snickerdoodle plugged in. Plug in the snickerdoodle, and then we'll try that again. All right. Okay, we're getting countdown, and look at that, it worked. Wow. Okay, we can do this later. So thanks a lot. What was his name again? Matthew. So Matthew had the right fix for that issue. And so now we are all booted up onto the snickerdoodle running Linux on a snickerdoodle. In the next video, we will work through setting up the Wi-Fi so that we can connect to snickerdoodle wirelessly. So I hope you like this video. Please subscribe, check out our channel, support the channel if you can, and we'll talk again soon.